a global dating company,
AshleyMadison.com,
he released a data about India in June 2025, and this was not any ordinary dating company. This was Ashley Madison, a website built for one single purpose: to help the married people have affairs. And the slogan is simple: life is short, have an affair. And in their data, they released a list, the Indian district with the highest number of extramarital affairs on their platform. And the district at number 1 was not Delhi, not Mumbai, not even Bangalore. It was Kanchipuram, a Tier 2 city in Tamil Nadu, globally renowned for its historic temples and traditional silk saris. The town where weddings are considered to be blessed by the gods themselves topped the list of affairs. And the rest of the list also had cities like Jaipur, Chandigarh, Kamrup in Assam and Raigarh. Not the spoiled metro cities we always love to blame, but the small traditional middle India. So today I want to ask a simple question that every Indian family fights about at the dinner table, but nobody actually checks the data for real. This aajkal ke bacche, in the kal to pullinga, and today's kids, the so-called Gen Zs, with their dating app, situationships, and their so-called complicated benching, questioning, and God knows how many more terms they have. And their parents and grandparents, the boomer generation, who got married once and stayed married for 50 years and never even held hands in public. Who cheats more? The Gen Zs versus the boomers. The boomer says Gen Zs are so spoiled, they are straying around. And the Gen Z says the boomers just hid everything from the partner and stuck in the relationship with no other choice. But the thing is, both are feelings versus feelings. But today we will look at the data, and I'm warning you right now, in India, the data itself is hiding a secret, and that secret is the real story of this entire video. Let me show you the strangest statistics in this entire video. The government of India runs one of the largest surveys in the world, the National Family Health Survey. In its latest round, they asked Indians about extramarital sex, and only 0.3% Indian women agreed that they ever had extramarital sex. Not even 1%. And for men, the number is 2.78%. Now look at the another survey. The dating platform specifically for extramarital affair called Gleeden surveyed about 1,500 married Indians in 8 big cities, and they say about 55% of married Indians said that they have been unfaithful at least once. 55%. Listen to those two numbers once again. The government survey literally says 0.3% and the private survey says 55%. One of these numbers should be a lie, or maybe this is more interesting, both are lies in different directions. Just think about it. When a government surveyor with a clipboard sits in your living room, in your hall, with your mother-in-law in the kitchen making chai and asks you a question, "Madam, have you ever had sexual relationship outside your marriage?" What will be your answer? What will an Indian woman say? Remember, until 2018, adultery was literally a crime in this country. So you're literally confessing to a crime to the government if you ever said you had extramarital sex. And on the other side, when a company whose entire business is selling extramarital affairs publishes a survey saying everyone is out there having affairs, that is not a research, that is advertisement for their platform. And the truth is somewhere in between. But here's the point I want you to hold on to for the rest of this video. In India, the gap between what we do and what we admit is the largest in the world. And that gap is different for every generation. Keep this in mind, we'll come back to it later. And now, to answer Gen Z versus boomers, we first have to understand the world our parents and grandparents got married into. And I want to start the story not in the 1970s, but some thousands of years ago. The oldest famous story of adultery in Indian civilization is in the Ramayana itself. The sage Gautama's wife, Ahalya, the god Indra desires her, comes to her in disguise, and they are together. And what happens when they get caught? Indra, the king of the gods, gets cursed, of course, but yes, he recovers and goes back to ruling the heaven. And Ahalya is turned into a stone. She lies as a rock for thousands of years until Lord Ram touches her. The man walks away and the woman becomes a stone. Remember this pattern because This exact pattern is what India also followed until 2018. For 158 years, India had Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code written by the British in 1860. Under this law, adultery was a crime, but read carefully who the criminal was. If a man slept with another man's wife, that man could go to jail for 5 years, but the wife could not be punished, but she also could not file a complaint. If a woman's husband is having an affair, she cannot file a case against him. And here's the most shameful part: if the husband gave his consent for the wife to have the affair, then it was not even a crime. In the eyes of the law, an Indian wife was her husband's property. Adultery was not a crime against women, it was a crime against another man's property. This is the legal world in which our boomer generation got married. Now, if you add the social world on top of it, most of the marriages were arranged often within 2 or 3 meetings, and the couple moved into a little big joint family where in one house 3 generations of people were living with zero privacy. They had no personal phone, not even a personal room sometimes, and every neighbor was like a CCTV. In that world, cheating is hell lot of effort. So did that generation not cheat at all? Let me answer that with a classic Bollywood. Because in India, what we cannot say in our living rooms, we can say in our cinema halls. 1981, the biggest superstar this country has ever produced, the classic Amitabh Bachchan, stars in Yash Chopra's Silsila, a film about a married man having an affair with his old love, played by Rekha. Trust me, this movie is still being considered as a cult classic. 1 year later, in 1982, Mahesh Bhatt makes Ardh, based on his own extramarital affair with Parveen Babi. And in the climax, the wife played by Shabana Azmi does something unthinkable for that time. Her husband comes back to her broken and being very sorry for cheating, and she refuses to take him back. Do you even know what that means? Shabana Azmi herself said that the distributors panicked for the climax. They wanted the climax to be changed.
तो जब distributors ने देखा फिल्म तो उन्होंने कहा बहुत अच्छी फिल्म है, लेकिन इसका एंड तो आपको बदलना पड़ेगा.
Because in every Hindi film before this, the formula was fixed. The husband will sleep around, the wife will wait, then she will forgive him when he comes back, and the family will be saved. A wife saying no was more scandal than the affair itself. And that, my friends, is the boomer rule book in one sentence. Affairs happen, but the marriages must survive. The wife must adjust, and above all, log kya kahenge? What will people say? The affair was not a big deal. Getting caught was the big deal. And now, is there any actual data on whether older generation cheat? In India, no, for the reasons I told you, but in America, yes. And the American data will literally shock you. America has something called the General Social Survey, one of the most respected surveys in the whole world, running for decades, asked married people one simple question: have you ever had sex with someone other than your partner while being married? A researcher named Nicholas Wolfinger at the University of Utah analyzed decades of this data, and overall the number barely changes. Around 16% of Americans said yes year after year. But when he split it by age, he saw a gap. By 2016, 20% of Americans over the age of 55 admitted to extramarital sex, and under the age of 55, only 14 people admitted. Listen to it once again. The older generation was 20% and the younger generation was 14%. And another researcher, Wendy Wong, found that men's infidelity actually peaks in their 70s. Their freaking 70s, can you believe it? Wolfinger had an explanation for this. This is the generation that became adults during the sexual revolution of the 1970s in America, where free love, the birth control pills, loosening the rules, everything was promoted vigorously, and that mindset traveled with them for the rest of their lives. So by raw lifetime data, at least in the West, it is the boomers who report to more cheating, not the Gen Zs. But before you screenshot that, there is a trap here. Researchers call it the cohort versus age problem. And the Pew Research Center had literally published warnings about it. Think simply, if you ask a 70-year-old man, have you ever cheated in your life? He had lived 50 years of married life to consider and say a yes. But a 22-year-old boy probably had 3 years of dating. Comparing their lifetime numbers is like comparing a half-written exam paper with a completed one and declaring a winner. Gen Z's story is not finished yet, and remember this honestly because most of the YouTube videos on this topic will not give it to you. Now let us come back to India because something happened in India that changed everything for this data. Actually, 3 things. First, the phone. When Jio made data almost free in 2016, the affair actually became much easier. Your grandfather needed either an empty house or a trustworthy friend or a lodge or some lonely place to cheat. But all we need in our generation is just a phone. The Gleeden survey says 68% of urban Indians saying social media has made cheating easier. Second, the law. On 27 September 2018, a 5-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court in Joseph Shine vs. Union of India case struck down section 497. Adultery is no longer a crime in India. It's still a valid ground for divorce, but no one goes to jail for it. So even if you cheat on your partner, nothing will happen to you. Maximum you can get a divorce, which is again not at all an easy task in India. And third, the apps that are literally monetizing cheating. Gleeden, a French app made specifically for married people, free for women but paid for men, launched in India in 2017. After decriminalization, the company claimed its Indian communities grew by 734%. 734%. Now be careful, that is the company's own numbers and the company kind of profits from this story. But the trajectory is still hard to deny. 2 million Indian users by 2023 and 3 million by January 2025 after growing 270% in one single year. And India is one of its biggest markets on the whole planet. And who is exactly joining these apps? This is where every stereotype is literally dying. According to the company's India head, Saibal Shidel, about 35% Indian users are women, and women's usage has grown 148% in just 2 years. And geography-wise, Bengaluru is in number 1, and then comes Hyderabad, but the fastest growth is happening in Lucknow, Surat, Patna and Guwahati. And their 2023 survey found that infidelity rates in smaller towns is almost equal to the metro cities. 56% versus 58%. The Sanskari small town like Kanchipuram is also on the app. And there's one more finding that should literally end the generation war forever. In Gleeden's 2025 survey across 12 Indian cities, guess which generation reported the highest in infidelity? It's not the Gen Z, not even the Gen X. What we call here as boomers. Your 45-year-old uncle generation is at 52%. The same people who are forwarding good morning messages about culture on the family WhatsApp group. So why are married Indians doing this? I could quote the famous Western therapist Esther Perel, who wrote the whole book called The State of Affairs, and whose patients apparently told her they did not want to leave their partner altogether. They just wanted to leave the person that they had become. But honestly, we don't have to go to New York for this. If you listen to Dr. Munia Bhattacharya, a senior clinical psychologist here in India, she says the infidelity she sees in her clinic today is less about morality and more about the unmet emotional needs. People who have no intention of leaving their marriage but are simply looking for emotional validation outside. And now add the uniquely Indian machinery around it. In much of India, divorce is still expensive, shameful, and literally a scandal in the family. So think about what that will create. In the West, an unhappy person literally can divorce and move on. But in India, an unhappy person in a relationship, in a marriage, cannot divorce easily. The marriage stays alive on paper in front of all the relatives, and the affair becomes their escape valve. A secret second marriage running in parallel. So I won't blame the apps here because they're not destroying the Indian marriage in a dark, twisted way. it is what keeps many Indian marriages standing. Okay, now finally the Gen Z, the accused. Let's actually look at them, what they're doing. The first surprise is that Indian Gen Z is barely getting married at all yet. So extramarital data does not even apply to most of them. Their relationship world is pre-marriage. Tinder India surveyed 1,000 young Indians aged between 18 to 30 for its future dating report, and in Bangalore, 43% said their current preference is a situationship, a connection with no fixed label. The Indian Quack Quack surveyed almost 12,000 young Indian users across Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities, and 57% said they have been in some connection that does not fit into the traditional relationship category. So basically, they are in a relationship, but they don't want to call it a relationship. They are in a relationship, but they don't want to give the commitment that a relationship needs. Now the elder generation watching this might already be shouting, see, there is no commitment, no values. But wait, we need to look closer at what this generation calls cheating, because this is the twist of the entire video. A 2026 feature interviewed young Indians about the digital flirting. One person said that commenting hot on someone else's post counts as cheating, and another person said liking a photo is fine, but DMs that turns into a full-fledged conversation is cheating. Think about what is happening here. For your grandfather's generation, cheating literally meant only one thing: physical sex outside marriage. That is how even the old American survey defines it. But this generation has invented an entire new dictionary. Micro-cheating, emotional affairs, you can't text your ex, you can't hide your phone. For the Gen Z's, betrayal begins long before anybody touches anybody. And the survey data backs this up globally. An American study found 94% of millennials call a one-night stand cheating compared to just 78% of the older generation. If I have to put it simply, older people think having a long-term affair is cheating. Millennials who are now in their 30s and early 40s think that even having a one-night stand, sleeping with someone just for once is also cheating. But the youngster, the Gen Zs consider even texting someone in a way that crosses the relationship boundaries as cheating. Young people tend to have a stricter definition of betrayal than the older generations. Now hold these two facts in your head at the same time. Gen Z is the generation most open to questioning the monogamy. In the last 2025 survey, 68% of Gen Z said they would consider a non-monogamous relationship compared to just 43% of the boomers. But here's the interesting part. When the dating platform field asked people about their relationship fantasies, Gen Zs gave the highest response of any generation for fantasizing about monogamy. A full 81% said they fantasize about a faithful, exclusive relationship. So this is not a generation without values, it is a generation that's redefining relationship rules. They are having these conversations very openly, setting their boundaries clearly and deciding what works for them before entering into that relationship. Our grandparents often accepted the traditional rules without questioning anything, and many broke those rules in private by having some sort of affair. And Gen Z, on the other hand, is questioning the rules first and then deciding what they want to commit to. So before I give you the final answer, there's one last thing, and my favorite thing: incentives. There is this line I keep coming back to: show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. Incentives are nothing but things that motivate or encourages people to do something. Who benefits actually from you believing that everyone in India is cheating? The affair apps too. Gleeden is free for women and charges men. So every headline that says 55% of Indian wives are unfaithful is for lonely men, an advertisement with a subscription button. The Kanchipuram list I opened the video with was released by Ashley Madison itself. It made headlines across India, which is literally free marketing advertisement for them in just dressed up as news. And this website, Ashley Madison, was hacked in 2015 and 37 million users got exposed because of this. A journalist named Anale Newitz went through all the leaked code and found the company had created 70,000 fake female bots. Out of 5.5 million women on the website, barely 1,500 real women had ever checked their inbox, against 11 million men. The men were literally paying real money to flirt with the software. So every time you see a shocking infidelity statistics, ask one question first: who released this number and what are they selling? Even some numbers in this video came from those exact dating companies, and I have flagged every single one of them. That is the difference between research and PR. So the final answer: Gen Z versus boomers, who cheats more? I'll give you the honest 4-layer answer, and I refuse to give you one fake simple answer. 1. By the only long-term lifetime data we have is from America, and the boomers report more cheating, not less. 20% versus 14. 2. But that comparison is half-rigged because Gen Z has not lived long enough to fill in its lifetime column. Their exam paper is half written. 3. In India, the boomer generation cheating is statistically invisible, buried under a criminal law that existed till 2018. Under what will people say, under all the joint family systems we had, under the government survey where 99.7% women and 97% men said nothing ever happened when they were married. Number 4, and Gen Z has widened the net of the word cheating so much. DMs, likes, emotional affairs, that by their own definition, more behavior counts as betrayal than ever before in human history. They may cheat more by their ruler and less by their grandparents' ruler. So both can be true at once. So the real answer is this: every generation cheated. It was never really a question of values. Your grandparents' generation cheated very quietly, often inside marriages they could not easily leave. And your generation cheats, but it also talks about it, defines it, differently sets boundaries, and ends the relationship over things that the older generation might have ignored. India is not becoming a country that cheats more. India is slowly becoming a country that lies less about it. And honestly, between a faithful looking lie and an uncomfortable truth, I know which one a healthy society is built on. If you found this video interesting, if you like the kind of videos where we actually read the surveys, check who actually funded those surveys, and still admit what we don't know, then subscribe. It takes weeks of research to make one of these videos, and your subscription is the only thing that keeps it going. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care of your loved ones, and most importantly, do not cheat on them.